Good morning and welcome to Daily Red Devil for all of your latest Manchester United transfer news and talk. Lots and lots to discuss on the show this morning. But before we get into that, please do me a small favour. If this is your first time watching today, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, bottom right-hand corner, on the road to 50,000 subscribers. And be sure to like the video as well. Let's try and see 500 likes on this episode. On the show this morning, we are going to be reacting to Manchester United setting a £70 million asking price for Alejandro Garnacho. We'll also be reacting to reports that Antony is on the brink of moving to La Liga. Also reacting to Kolo Muani. We have got Here We Go on Kolo Muani, but it isn't to Manchester United. Quite a few other bits to get into as well. As always, I invite you to have your say on all things Manchester United in the comments section below. And the question that I've got for you today is this: should Manchester United sell Garnacho if Napoli are willing to pay the £70 million asking price? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. And let's start the show with this big news topic then. So for anybody who missed yesterday, Ivica Kvaratskhelia to PSG is a here we go. This has been confirmed by Fabrizio, so he's definitely joining PSG. And as a result of that, Napoli are obviously trying to now sign Garnacho. So just to give you a bit of a roundup of where we are at with Garnacho, apparently Napoli's president met with Garnacho's agent yesterday. There's photos of this meeting, kind of the end of this meeting or leaving this meeting. And at the moment, from what we're hearing from Manchester United, is that this transfer is being agent-driven, which means that it's not Manchester United actively trying to sell Garnacho. It's his agent trying to push through a move, which is interesting and maybe slightly surprising. But at the same time, I don't really blame him, really, because, you know, Ruben Amorim's come in and Garnacho hasn't really been getting as much playtime. I know he started against Arsenal in the FA Cup, but he's not been starting in the Premier League. He's been getting 20, 30 minutes here, 20, 30 minutes there. And as I've said to you many times before, at the moment, obviously, we don't play a system that really suits Garnacho. And if Garnacho is to stay at Manchester United, he's either going to play as a wing back, which means defending, which he doesn't like to do, or he's going to be playing as a central attacking midfielder, which isn't really his primary position. So I can understand why Garnacho's agent is effectively shopping around and seeing what's available. I know some people might be slightly disappointed with that, but I think that's just how the world is, isn't it? If you work at a certain company and there's another company that's going to offer you better money, better perks, closer to your house, I don't know, whatever, you might go and consider it. So, at the end of the day, football is humans, and you can't really blame him. But Gianluca Di Marzio is claiming that a deal for Garnacho may be difficult because at the moment, Manchester United are adamant that they won't accept anything less than £70 million. If we got £70 million for Garnacho, I think that'd be absolutely phenomenal, to be honest. I do. Is he worth £70 million? I would say he's worth anywhere between 50 and 70. I think 50 is more realistic. £1 million. People say that I undervalue our players. I mean, I just think you have to be realistic. We're not playing FIFA here. We're not playing Football Manager. Like, if we got £70 million for Garnacho, I just honestly think that would be mad. I'd be happy with that. 100% profit. Imagine what we could do with that money. But yeah, I think if they could do a deal for somewhere like 50 million up front plus maybe 20 million in add-ons, I think that would be fair. But I think the likelihood of Manchester United getting 70 million pounds up front for Garnacho is relatively small, to be honest, because the most stupidest thing about this story is that Kvaratskhelia is obviously moving to PSG, isn't he? And the only reason that they want Garnacho is because Kvaratskhelia is moving to PSG. PSG are buying Kvaratskhelia from Napoli for 70 million euros total package. So that includes add-ons. So like 60 million pounds total so 60 million pounds including add-ons he's moving to PSG for. But then you've got people in our fan base who are saying that we should be charging 70 million pounds for Garnacho. I mean, that doesn't make sense. I think Kvaratskhelia is definitely a better player than Garnacho, realistically. And if he's just gone to PSG for 70 million euros, PSG have got more money than us. PSG always overspend on transfers, then that kind of gives you a bit more of an indication as to what the price of Garnacho is. So yeah, we'll see how this one progresses. But I think at the moment, there is still 2 weeks left of the window. From what we're hearing, Manchester United are being quite stubborn on this, saying, either give us the 70 million, otherwise we're not selling him, which is fine. I understand that. You've got to be firm in your transfer negotiations. In the past, we've been poor at transfer negotiations. If they end up getting 60 million for Garnacho, I think most fans would be happy. Would it be a shame to lose a player like Garnacho? Of course it would be a shame. But at the end of the day, as we've said before, I think when you're sat 13th in the Premier League, when you finished 8th last season, I don't think any player is unsellable, And if someone comes in with a big offer for somebody, especially one of these youth players, you have to consider it. Because that 50, 60, 70 million pounds we get could go and buy us 3 or 4 players. Obviously, because of PSR rules, it would help our PSR situation massively if we were to sell a youth player. I know that's a stupid and unfair system, but that's how it is. And I've said to you many times before that I don't think 1 or 2 players is going to solve our issue. We need a left wing back. We need a right wing back. We need another midfielder. We need another central attacking midfielder. We need another centre back. We need another striker. We maybe need another goalkeeper. We probably need 6 or 7 players, just 6 or 7 Ruben Amorim style players. And I think at the moment, with the way we're going and the way that our finances are, we're going to struggle to do that in the summer. We might get 2 or 3 in the summer, and then 2 or 3 next summer. And then, do you know what I mean? And before you know it, you're 3 years into Ruben Amorim's era, and you've only then got 6 or 7 players. So selling a big player like Garnacho, which would present 100% profit, yes, it's a shame. Yes, I like Garnacho. Yes, I think he could go on to be a very talented player. I mean, he already is talented, but you know what I mean? He could go on to be one of the best attacking players in the world, potentially. But I think at the moment, if we do get offered this 70 million that's being reported, maybe that's including add-ons. I think you do have to consider it, really. But I'd be interested to see what you guys all think. Would you accept 70 million pounds for Garnacho? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And let's move over to Antony. I don't think there's really any argument here for Antony, is there? I think 99.9% of Man United fans want Antony to leave Manchester United. It hasn't worked. I think it probably will go down as one of the worst transfers in Manchester United's history. And that's not being harsh. Antony has been absolutely awful. I was going to say I feel sorry for him, but I don't really, to be honest. Obviously, it's not his fault that we paid nearly 100 million euros for him. But at the same time, I don't know. We paid 95 million euros for Antony. He's got 1 goal this season. Although he has only played 356 minutes, to be fair, but still, it's not very good. But the reports coming out this morning are suggesting that Antony is very close to moving to La Liga. It looks like he'll be joining Real Betis. It will unfortunately only be a loan, though. And apparently Manchester United are going to have to pay more than half of Antony's wages. I mean, that just shows how bad of a moment Antony is in. When the only teams that are interested in him were Olympiacos, which apparently he rejected, and Real Betis. Those are the only 2 clubs that apparently want him. And even if we do manage to get this deal done, which people will be happy about, we're still going to have to pay more than half of his wages, apparently. He's on 200 grand a week. Apparently Manchester United will have to contribute around 120 grand per week. So Real Betis will only pay him about 80,000 and we'll pay the rest. Real Betis is sat 10th in La Liga. So they're a mid-table team in La Liga. And there's not really any scope that they'll buy him afterwards. It's very much a case of loan him to Real Betis, hope that he does well, and then maybe in the summer you can sell him. There are some murmurs coming out this morning that apparently the Saudi Pro League are interested in Antony. But even then, even if we sell him to Saudi, I reckon we'd be lucky to get more than 30, 40 million, and that's selling him to Saudi, which would present a massive loss versus what we paid for him. Was it 2 years ago, 3 years ago? 2022. So yeah, if we sold him this summer, it would be 3 years since we bought him. Let me just have a look at his... So he was on a 5-year contract, 95 million euros. Let's have a look. Divided by 5 times by 3. I'm just working out the amortization. So if anybody who doesn't know how transfers work, on your PSR books, you spread out the value of the transfer over the length of the contract. So Antony's contract was 5 years long. He cost 95 million euros. So by the time the summer comes, we'll have paid 57 million euros worth of the transfer fee, which means that we will only have 38 million euros left. So if we manage to get 38 million euros for Antony in the summer, around that figure, then we wouldn't actually technically lose money, because we've already 2/3 of the first 3 years have already been paid off, if that makes sense. So that's probably why they want to hold on to him till then. They want to hope that his stock price goes up, because, I mean, even 38 million euros, that sounds a little bit kind. That's like 30 million pounds. Maybe you get that from the Saudi Pro League, but even then, I'm not holding my breath. I think 20 to 30 is probably more realistic, or even like 15 to 30. But let's hope that he goes to Real Betis. Let's hope he does well. It will obviously just be a loan until the summer. Do we need a replacement? I mean, not really. Is there anybody from the youth team that we could promote instead? Antony's, like I said a couple of minutes ago, Antony's only played 356 minutes across all competitions, and he's not been injured. So maybe there's somebody from the youth team that we could promote. That would be decent if that was an option. You know, promote somebody from the youth team and let Antony go. Because even if we do have to pay half of his wages, if he was on loan until June, let's have a look. So how many weeks until June? There's about 20 weeks until June, okay? And if Real Betis, say, pay half his wages, that will be about £2 million worth of versus £2 million worth of wages. So it's better than nothing, isn't it? And if we can just promote somebody from the youth team, that's £2 million that we've saved. And it's not really like we're losing a player, because, as I said, he's only played 356 minutes so far this season. So, yeah. Right, let's see what people are saying in the chat this morning. Some people are saying don't sell Garnacho. Everyone who's just joined the video, if you could do me a small favour and drop a like, that would be really, really appreciated. We're trying to get to 500 likes on this episode. So go and do that right now if you haven't already. And make sure to subscribe as well. I've just dropped a link into the chat to subscribe. What else have we got in the chat today? Al saying that we should go for Alvaro Fernandez. Yeah, I think that'd be an interesting option. Somebody says we're blatantly going to sell Garnacho for 50 million and then spend that money on Nuno Mendes. Yes, probably. Jerry says we should try Antony in Højlund's position. We've got nothing to lose. You never know. Maybe. I can't see it happening, to be honest. Al says Antony was only being paid 20,000 a week at Ajax. Why did we give him 200 grand a week? What was John Murta thinking? I honestly don't know. That was one of the strangest decisions I think we've made in the last decade. You know, you've got a player, as you say, who's only earning £20,000 at Ajax, right? What's the logical thing to do? Maybe give him 2 times his salary, maybe 3, give him 60, 80 grand a week? No, you give him 200 grand a week. For realistically an unproven Eredivisie player, bizarre, absolutely bizarre. I don't know how that deal came about. I don't know. People will say, oh, it's Erik ten Hag's fault, but do remember with that situation that Manchester United had the opportunity to sign Antony in the first few weeks of the transfer window for about £30 million. They said no. We lose our first 2 games of the season. We lost against Brentford and Brighton. I remember it was, I think, 2-0 to Brighton at Old Trafford. And then we lost 4-0 to Brentford away from home. This was in Erik ten Hag's first season. And then what do they go and do? They go and spend 95 million euros on Antony and 70 million euros on Casemiro after not really buying any players throughout the summer. They panicked and they overpaid. They overpaid on the transfer fees and they overpaid on the wages. And now we're stuck in this situation where we've got Casemiro and Antony sat on the bench earning over £500,000 a week in wages combined, and nearly costing us 200 million euros in wages. I mean, it's just in transfer fees, mental. But all we can do is live and learn, and hopefully we move on from this positively. It's mental, innit? Noel says Garnacho doesn't suit the manager's system. I would sell him to get money for players who can actually play it. I do kind of agree with you, to be honest. And I know the counter argument to that would be, well, we can develop him to play that system. But it's just whether Garnacho wants to do that. Does Garnacho want to play as a wing back and have to defend? Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he does. We don't know the answer, do we? Does he want to play as a number 10? Probably not. I think he's better suited on the wing. So there's all these different questions, isn't there? And it's easy for people to say, oh, don't sell him, don't sell him. But the fact of the matter is, Garnacho doesn't start under Ruben Amorim. Yes, he started against Arsenal in the FA Cup, but in the Premier League, he's not been starting. He's been coming off the bench and playing 20, 30 minutes. And, if he's not going to play, and we've got an asset there worth £70 million that we can go and buy 4 or 5 more players with, maybe you have to do it. But you can let me know your thoughts on that. Let's move on to Kolo Muani, though. And I don't know really whether I wanted Kolo Muani, to be honest. I wasn't that excited about the fact of signing Muani, but I mean, I guess something is better than nothing. But the story this morning, this is coming out from Fabrizio, is that Kolo Muani to Randall Kolo Muani to Juventus. Here we go. Deal in place on loan until June from PSG. No buy option. Kolo Muani has accepted the proposal and will fly to Turin this week for medical tests. Agreement sealed. So Kolo Muani will not be joining Manchester United. He'll not be joining Tottenham, and he is going to go and join now Juventus, which obviously means Juventus won't now sign Joshua Zirkzee, which I think Joshua Zirkzee staying till the summer is fine. I think we've got a lot worse players than Joshua Zirkzee. Let's be honest, right? Think of how many other players should be leaving before Joshua Zirkzee. I could probably list you 5. Eriksen, Mason Mount, Antony, Casemiro, Malacia, Luke Shaw, Lindelof, Johnny Evans, Tom Heaton. I mean, how many players did I just list off there? Tom Heaton, Lindelof, Johnny Evans, Luke Shaw, Malacia, Casemiro, Eriksen, Mason Mount, Antony. There's probably somebody else I've forgotten. That's 9 players there that should be sold before Joshua Zirkzee. And I think some of the criticism he's received has been quite unfair. I am still a little bit confused about where his best position is, but I think when he came on against Arsenal, he did quite well. And hopefully he starts building some confidence, because I do think he works quite well behind Højlund as the kind of number 10. And if he gets a consistent run in that position, I hope that he can kind of start to own that position, because at the moment, there isn't really anybody owning that position. I know Bruno plays there now. Obviously, Bruno plays there. Ahmad plays there. But other than that, Mason Mount's injured. Rashford's not playing. Garnacho's not playing. There's not really anybody holding down that number 10 position. So I think Joshua Zirkzee staying is the correct decision, because to find a replacement now would have been very, very difficult. And obviously with Juventus signing Kolo Muani, they're not going to now go for Joshua Zirkzee. So Joshua Zirkzee will stay. That looked like a little bit of a strange transfer. Somebody who only signed in the summer to be leaving straight away is, it's never a good sign when that happens. But I could understand why his agent was shopping around. I can understand why he was considering his future after a relatively poor start to his time at Manchester United. But let's hope that Joshua Zirkzee gets a game time tomorrow against Southampton. I mean, that's the perfect game for Joshua Zirkzee to build up confidence. So yeah, we'll see how that one goes. What else have we got in the chat today? Brogan says Luke Shaw should be on your for sale list. I think he was on my for sale list. I think I said Luke Shaw, didn't I? Luke Shaw would be top of my for sale list, to be honest. He genuinely would. Luke Shaw would be at the very top. I would rather keep Antony than Luke Shaw. 100%. At least Antony tries, and at least Antony's available. He's not very good, but at least he's available. Luke Shaw's just injured all the time, and we're paying him 200 grand a week. But do you know what I do really like, actually? And I heard Ben Foster talking about it on his podcast the other day, is the fact that Ruben Amorim is making the players who are injured travel to the games with them. Did anybody hear that on Ben Foster's podcast? So apparently some managers will let the players who are injured just do what they want effectively. So they could just, go on holiday. They can, when they're injured on the weekends, they can do whatever they want. And then in the end, there's the question mark about how long are these people stretching out their injuries, But apparently Ben Foster was saying that Ruben Amorim is making the players who are injured travel to the games with the squad. So like for the Arsenal game, Luke Shaw was there. I think Mason Mount was there. The same for the Liverpool game at Anfield. Like he's making them be involved in it. And apparently, usually Ben Foster said, obviously from being a footballer, that sometimes makes people come back quicker because they're effectively like, well, I'm already having to do all this stuff. I may as well make myself fitter. And I know that sounds a little bit strange. And I know people will think, oh, that means you're accusing them of faking injury and all the rest of it. But I don't know. This is Ben Foster's words, not mine. So fair play. Al says, where do you think Rashford will end up going? I don't know, mate, to be honest. I really don't. We hear Dortmund, we hear AC Milan, we hear Napoli, we hear Monaco, we hear Barcelona. I have a feeling that the Rashford deal will just drag out till the end of the window and then we'll get a really bad loan move for him where we're paying most of his wages. That's my take on that. Al says, what about Casemiro? Casemiro, obviously we've heard from multiple people that the deal makers in Saudi. So for anybody who's unaware, in Saudi Arabia, the teams don't buy their own players. The league buys the players and then they assign the players to certain clubs. So at the moment, it looks like Saudi Arabia is negotiating a deal with Manchester United or the Saudi Pro League is negotiating a deal with Manchester United for Casemiro. Once that deal is agreed, they'll then assign him to a club. That's how it works over there. So I don't know, really. I think Casemiro will leave Manchester United, whether it's now or in the summer, remains to be seen. If I was Manchester United, I would get rid of him now. Obviously, Toby Collier's back now, and Toby Collier looked decent against Arsenal. I think Toby Collier brings you legs. He brings you hunger, whereas Casemiro's got no legs. He's got no hunger. He's won everything in the game. 5 Champions Leagues, playing for a team in the bottom half of the Premier League. He doesn't care anymore. He's just here for the money. So if I was Manchester United, I'd be doing everything to get rid of Casemiro, even if it means that you can't then bring in a replacement, because I think Toby Collier could be the replacement. Obviously, Dan Gore's still in the team, still available as well. So you could have Toby Collier as the kind of bench replacement and then Dan Gore as like the backup. I think at this point, you know, we're not going to win the Premier League this season. And I think the most sensible thing to do would be to get rid of some people, get rid of Antony, get rid of Casemiro, get rid of Rashford if you can. And I mean, there's also talks of Malacia leaving this morning, which is interesting. I don't know how you will feel about that. I personally would move on Malacia. I think even before he got injured, I didn't think he was that good. I thought his first season, he was pretty average. He's now got injured. Obviously a horrible injury. He was out for like 500 days or something. Missed like a season and a half. But yeah, apparently there's talk of Malacia going to Como, however you say it, in Italy. Which I think would be a straight sale. It wouldn't be a loan. Let me just double check. Let's have a look. There was some talk about this morning, actually, of Malacia joining Como. Yeah, so it says, this is on the Manchester Evening News, that Manchester United defender Malacia will be allowed to leave Manchester United after missing 517 days through injury. And where does it look like he's going to go? Let me just double check. I think it was Como, yeah. Yeah, so it looks like Como are interested in signing him. Quite a few different people have reported this story as well. Let's have a look. Yeah, so it says Como have approached Manchester United over a deal for Tyrell Malacia. Yeah, I mean, we didn't pay very much money for Malacia, did we? So we might even be able to make a little bit of profit on that deal. I think we only paid about £10 million for him. It does look like he is going to leave Manchester United. But again, that does leave us quite short, doesn't it? So we probably will then have to bring in that left wing back, whether that's Nuno Mendes. We paid 15 million euros for Malacia. So as long as we get back our 15 million euros, I'll be happy. But I'm going to wrap the video up here, guys. Thank you very much for watching today. Please make sure to drop a like on this episode. Please do subscribe to the channel if you're new.